What's up YouTube? Today we're going to be showing you on a 2011 how to replace a damaged fender on a Dodge 1500. Now this is the RT model, so you might have a regular 1500 or a 2500 or a 3500. The steps that we're going to show you how to replace this fender are all the same on all 2011, 2010 to 2014 models. Might be a 2015 they've thrown in there, but without further ado, this is the fender replacement of the 2011 Dodge Ram.
The tools we're going to need to remove the fender on the Dodge. This is actually made for interior panels, but it's made to pop out the little plastic rivets so you can reuse them that are holding the insulation and things on the firewall. So we can get to the fender bolts. 1/2-inch driver. This is a 5/16 driver and a 10mm socket. This is an adapter that goes onto the socket to put onto the impact driver. Also, we have here this fishing line. In a little bit, we'll show you what this is for. It's pretty cool. The last thing you need here, of course, is the fender, and you can see how lightweight it is. We did buy this on eBay for $100. It's designed for this particular vehicle, and you can see they even certified that it'll match it. So this is, if you say you take your truck into a body shop, chances are they're going to use a product like this. Another thing I forgot to mention, this is a paint mixing cup, plastic. You can use just about anything, a red cup, any of that stuff. It's to put all the nuts and bolts in so we can find them when we go to put it back on.
Alright, so the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to take off this front guard here, which is a weather guard, and it's basically what we're going to use is our prying tool here, so we'll take that off now. Remember, use your parts cup. This is going to save you.
We'll pull it out.
Okay, along with this one over here, we're also going to remove this one. And that one you might need to use, just go ahead, yeah. Sometimes you just pull up with both your hands and it'll come up. We're going to go ahead and take the bungee cord and hold it out of the way now so you have a space to work with in here, and you can get to all of your 10mm screws and your 1/2-inch screws. So we'll go ahead and we'll start on those now. Now what size is that there, Jack?
This is a 1/2-inch.
So he's taking out the 1/2-inch. Now those are the brackets for the battery right here. So we're going to take these off. We're not going to remove the battery. We're just going to lift this up and see if we can get the fender to come out. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and take out the number 10 screws. You can see already we're getting some play in the fender. So we're getting some play in the fender. Now we got to go up to the top and see where we're at with those bolts. We need to take off this screw right here for the headlight, and we also need to take off this screw down there. And you can see that, you see those blue marks down there? That's where it is. Right on the wire needs to be moved out of the way, but you'll see it when we take the light out. That's the first screw. Now this headlight in particular was broken from the damage you see here. So Jack's going to go ahead and he's going to remove the light. And now you're going to disconnect, this piece right here. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and remove the tab here. If you don't know how these work, they're the pull, and then you push, and then you exit. So this little red tab here, it's push forward. You need to pull it back, and then push this tab here, this green tab here in the back, and then pull it, and it'll come out. All right, so now that we're looking inside of here, we see we got a broken tail of the headlight, which is inserted into the framework there, and we're just looking for our bolts. If you don't know which bolts that you need to go after, you can always refer to the new fender, which is right here, and you can see where the holes are. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bolts that need to be taken out of the bottom of the fender. And you also have, looks like, 2 in the front here. So we'll go ahead and we'll look for those right now. Okay, now we're on the outside of the fender here. You can see the tire on the bottom. So we got a, what size is that, Jack?
5/16.
We got a 5/16 driver for these bolts here. And you can see there would be one right there, but it's been ripped out from the accident. There. There's one still there. And we got one that has been ripped out there and one down there. So a total of 3 that we need to remove right now. So we're going to do that and move forward. Okay, that one's coming out by hand crank. And the last one on the bottom here. And that's going to hold on your little kick toe guard there on the bottom. Okay, you also have 2 more down in there. Now these are the bottom corner of the left fender. Okay, so that's going to give us some play to pull out any other things that we have. Bolts. So we're at the front now where we took off the headlight. Now we need to get down in here. There's actually 2 screws that are down in here, and we're going to pull this fender out so that we can access those. So we'll do that now. Alright, so we're going to pull the fender back now. Now if you're replacing a fender, you're doing it for a reason. It's because it's damaged. So now we get access to those 2 screws that I was telling you about down in there. They're actually, let me get the light for you. They're actually right here. See, you got one there and one right there. So we'll take those out now. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, because the fender is obviously damaged, we're going to lift this up here. And we're going to see that you have 1 bolt in the top there where the fender meets the A-pillar. And then you also have one right there where the fender meets the A-pillar. So we're going to take those 2 off. And then we're going to work on the inner lining to get to our other fender bolts that are up front here. There's the top one. There's the other one up top there that we need to take out. So Jack's going to go ahead and take that one out. Now remember, we removed, we lifted up the damaged fender so that we could access that. So we took the one out in the middle and we took the one off the top. Be careful when you're pulling it off, because you don't want to damage the A-post that would have also some paint in there. And the last fender bolt is right underneath here. You can see it, it's right there. And that'll release the fender. Now be careful when you're pulling it off, because you don't want to damage the A-post, which might be good still. So that'll remove the fender, and now we can access the 2 bolts that we've been trying to access the whole time, which are right there.
I don't want to force this, but we now.
So there's the one. there's the other one. So we got them both out with a little bit of force. And you see your bracket there. You want to make sure that the bracket is the same way that it was when you got it, which is it's pretty good. It just probably needs to be bent back a little bit. And
take it off to straighten it.
Yeah, we'll take it off to straighten it. Let's see what the other side looks like to compare. So after removing the fender, we went ahead. There's the fender. We got to turn the wheel because we got to get to these screws here, and these are Phillips head screws, which hold in the wheel well liner. And when we take that out, then we'll be able to easily put in the new fender and attach that with what we've had difficulty there with that bracket going into the front bumper. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and remove the screws that are in the center here. And we just remove those with the prying tool. Now that's in the front bumper so that we can get the inner wheel well cover out. So we'll start taking that out now. There's a screw right here. You can see that we need to remove. It's up inside there. And my camera can't get in there, but if you can see this right here, there's a screw attaching that to the frame there. So we'll remove that. We're going to go ahead and remove that one now. And that's using your prying tool again. Now watch out, because this is like foam rubber. If you're not very careful, you just pull it through and you won't be able to use the same wheel well cover if you don't do that. And there's the push pin right there. So it wasn't a bolt on that one, it's a push pin. And now we have another one right there. And that is a small bolt. I don't know what size it is. It's probably a, what do you think, 5/16? Probably a 10, number 10. So we'll take that one out. So it looks like your inner wheel well has two bolts in the top. One of them is a push pin, the other is a screw. And those are holding the so it looks like you got 3 overall screws holding the top of the wheel guard in. So you got one there in the back here in the top, and you got the push pin in here that we showed you before. So one there, and a push pin up top here. So we'll remove this one now. This is the third of the 3 in the top of the wheel well. Almost there. Starting to get a little bit more loose. We got one in the front here we're inspecting, and it looks like it's a push pin right there. We'll grab our prying tool. Okay, so the wheel well is detached from all the parts so that we can access the fender to go back on to the points where it needs to screw. Here, 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 here up top, and down underneath here. So this just makes it a lot easier for you to get the fender on after you've pulled the wheel fender guard off. Alright, now we got the fender. We're going to go ahead and place it. We're just placing it. We're not gonna try to shoot any bolts in yet, nothing. You got a foam pad right here, you take off, and then you go ahead and you set that in here to your little lip here. Get it positioned, and that looks good there. So we'll go ahead and we'll start bolting it in. So we got the fender placed. Now the placement on the bottom is going to come together because it's pliable at the bottom. You can go ahead and pull the bumper in and out to match up with the fender. So just make sure that you put, remember these brackets for your battery, your fender goes up underneath them, and it sort of helps it as a guide that will go ahead and hold the fender in place while you go ahead and do what Jack's doing right now, and he's attaching the first screw, excuse me, the first bolt, which is right here.
Just snugging them.
So we're just snugging the bolts because if the fender has to go in and out a certain way, you don't want to have to loosen and retighten, loosen and retighten. It's easier to just snug them so you can manipulate the fender and get the lines right. That's already been snugged, and this one here that you can get to with having the door open. Now we're going to do that middle one, which is sort of difficult, in the upper side of the fender, which is down in here. Alright, so we're attaching the lower part of the bumper to the lower part of the fender. Just so you know, there's a bracket which is in the back, then the fender, then the bumper. So if you're working away from the front to the back, you're going to connect the bumper, then the fender, and then the bracket. And there's a little tab in here, if you can see that right where my finger is, which goes in to that hole there to make it look like that when you get done. So we'll go ahead and we'll bolt that all together. If you can see the inside here, I don't know if you can see it very well. It's hard to get a shot in there, but the bolts are going to go in, and they're pretty much going to go right in through there. So we'll get that all snugged up, and you see the screw that we put in there, the bolt we put in there, that's going to be tightened through your fender there. So when you're connecting all this together, you're going to do the fender tab here connected to the bracket on your body here before you attach the bumper. So don't worry about the bumper right now. We're just attaching the fender to the bracket. Then we'll come back and we'll attach the bumper to the fender. That's why they made teeth, folks, to hold the flashlight. Okay, now our fender is on. We still need to connect the bolts here. Bolt that goes in there. We need to tighten these down here, and we also put a bolt in here. So we'll tighten all those up now. You can see we got our line nice here. It looks good. And it's all attached inside. Alright, so we just finished bolting the fender up, and we aligned it with the left side here for the gap on the right side here, and it's looking pretty good. We're going to tighten the top bolt now, and we're going to put this rubber piece back in. Goes up and inside and snaps down. Shut the hood now and I'll show you the gap. The gap on this side, the gap on that side. Very nice. Now we'll go ahead and finish installing the fender well cover, and we'll see what it looks like after. Alright, so we're tucking the fender well cover up underneath, getting it positioned so we can put our screws in. See Jack's putting it in position there. And then I put these in here, one there, and one there. And we'll go ahead and continue around the clock. Everything's done with the fender. We need to get the Hemi sign off. So we're gonna go ahead and take gloves and some fishing line. And we're gonna go right behind it against the fender to remove the adhesive with the fishing line. Make sure you're wearing gloves because this will tear your hands up if you don't. And the screwdriver there is just applying pressure to hold it so that the adhesive doesn't get stuck as you're pulling off the sign. So there it is. It's off. Now you can reattach it when your bumper is painted. Double-sided tape, and it'll look like a brand new bumper. Excuse me. It'll look like a brand new fender. Then we're going to move the ram sign same way, because the door has to be fixed. So I'm going to get a new piece of fishing line. Probably use what, 50-pound test there?
That's probably 20 pound.
Yeah, 50-pound test will probably be the best. Remember, we're using a screwdriver right now because the door needs to be painted and it's gonna have damage to it anyways. So we're not gouging it though, we're just prying it. You can use a fishing line too if your fishing line doesn't break. Just make sure you're very careful when pulling off the numbers, because if you're not, they will break and you have to get new ones, and it's just more money down the drain. So there's all of our numbers.